All right, welcome to La Pausa. We had a little trouble getting this loaded up, but I think we are live and ready to go. Yes, we are. Today, I want to talk about Real Madrid because they've got so many moving parts. Bear with me while I pop the link to this on Twitter and see if we can't get some folks to join in. Real Madrid is they're not going to look the same next year, and they've got to make some moves. Let's get this up on Twitter here. Real Madrid. All right, we're up, we're running. Hey, before we get rolling, I started talking, but I want to get into this. Before we get rolling here, hit that subscribe button for me. Like the stream if you can. We're going to start doing more live streams like this. I haven't done a lot of them, but I want to start incorporating these into what we do here in Pints and Punditry. Sometimes we just got to talk about a topic, and today that topic is Real Madrid, because there's just so many moving parts to everything they are doing and looking for. And, it's hard to say what the right move is right now. And part of the reason for that is we don't know the validity of this Kylian Mbappe stuff, the rumors, the is he leaving? Is he out of PSG? Is he, is he actually going? I would say right now it's probably 50-50. So we need to put this in context with what really happened, right? So the big news that came out was that he's not going to accept the mutual extension that that they had in the contract. There was a mutual extension between him and PSG, and if they both activated it, the contract extended. There was very little chance of that happening because Mbappe is young and talented, and free agency, as little as it exists in European soccer, is where you make a ton of money, right? That's where you make a ton of money. And so it gives him control and gives him a chance to dictate. So unless he was coming off major injuries or bad seasons or down seasons and he thought he would get less on the open market, there's no reason for him to ever accept that extension. So he didn't, right? Now, immediately everybody said, "Oh, well, now PSG has to get rid of him," right? And there's some validity to that because he's got them by the balls now, right? He's got 1 year left on the contract, and they know if they don't sell him this summer, they've got the chance to get nothing out of him, and that's the worst case scenario for PSG, right? So what they're trying to decide is, okay, now we can work out another extension, which is a very, very real possibility. That what got discounted in all this is the fact that PSG and Mbappe can sign another extension tomorrow, and it can be 5 years, and he's there for the most of his prime, and that's a very real possibility. This does not mean he's leaving. What it means is he's got them under his thumb, and he gets to decide, and he puts the pressure on the club to pay him a ton of money and give him an extension, or else he's going to force a move. And of course, there's always been the draw to Real Madrid, to bring it back to our topic here. Real Madrid wants Kylian Mbappe. That's not a secret. They want him. They want him sooner rather than later, but they want him when the time is right. What they don't want to do is what happened a couple years ago, where they sort of put all their eggs in the Kylian Mbappe basket and thought they had him. They thought they had him, and then at the last second he decided to stay at PSG, and they basically ended up with nothing, right? That summer they really didn't end up with a lot, and I think they felt pretty soured by that, and they don't want that to happen again because they have other options. Harry Kane is out there, right? Harry Kane is out there, and that's the move that makes the most sense for the club and the player, assuming Kylian Mbappe is off the table, right? But Real Madrid is a great team that needs to replace its striker, and Harry Kane is far and away the best striker on the market that's truly available, and so it's a natural fit, which is why everyone's sort of thought it was a foregone conclusion. But much like Manchester City a couple years ago when they were heavily linked with Harry Kane, and for their price they would have made the move, but Manchester City refuses to pay anything other than their price. But really, what the reason they didn't want to go above and beyond to get him was because they knew Erling Haaland was coming and that he was a year away, and that they were going to be able to go get him, and there was a lot of certainty behind the Haaland transaction because of the release clause. So they knew they could just pay it, and assuming they could convince him to come, he was theirs. And so they basically said, okay, we'll take Kane at our price, but we're not dying to get him. We'll play the year without a true striker because we're going to wait for Erling Haaland. Well, that's basically where Real Madrid is now, if they think Kylian Mbappe is a year away, which was what we thought up until a couple days ago. And so they said, okay, well, we'd like Harry Kane, but not at the expense of Kylian Mbappe. And now, with this news, Kylian Mbappe is on the table, which definitely makes Harry Kane plan B for them, which is an interesting place to be. So what Real Madrid has to decide is not, do I want Mbappe or Harry Kane? They clearly want Kylian Mbappe because they're thinking long-term, right? They're thinking long-term, and they should be. But what they have to decide is the validity of the Kylian Mbappe is leaving PSG rumors, right? And that news story, because that's what the real news story was, just that he's turning down the contract extension, or that he's not activating his part of the mutual extension. That's news, but it's not the news story that was broadcast. The news story that was broadcast is Kylian Mbappe to leave PSG this summer. That's very misleading. All the decision to not activate the extension does is puts the screws to PSG to get him a better extension, pay him even more money, or if they realize they're not going to be able to do that, then they do in fact have to make a move. But the move is not forced. Really, the ball is in their court to get it right with Mbappe and give him more of an extension. The question is if that's something they want to do. Hit the chat for me. If you have opinions on this, I'd love to get some feedback on this. We're getting into the business sense, the business side of things, which I really like. But it gets into contracts, and so Real Madrid is sitting there saying, okay, well, we want Kylian Mbappe, but we can't wait around to see, right? So Real Madrid is once again being dangled as the bait for Kylian Mbappe to get an extension from PSG, and that's not a great spot for Real Madrid. So they would be well within their rights to just say, you know what? No, we're not doing this. We're going to go get Harry Kane and take ourselves out of the Kylian Mbappe sweepstakes because we're not going to be your leverage, right? We're not going to be your leverage again. We've done this. We got our hopes up. We basically told our fans he was coming, and then it didn't happen. And so they would be well within their rights to do that, and it wouldn't be the worst strategy. Unfortunately, it means he'll probably never play for Real Madrid, or at least not until the end of his career. Because if they do that, and then he does move on, they're out of the running for Kylian Mbappe for 5 years probably. The question is, and this is where Real Madrid really can roll the dice. If they're willing to have a life without Kylian Mbappe, which they already have, they've got an opportunity here to roll the dice and basically call PSG and Kylian Mbappe's bluff by saying, where else are you going to go? Right? And think about that for a minute. Where else is Kylian Mbappe going to go? If it's not Real Madrid, who is his leverage? There are very few options on the table for him. The natural link is always to Manchester City, but that's really just because they can afford it. I don't know that they have a ton of interest in Kylian Mbappe, and let's put that in context. Everybody's interested in Mbappe. He's one of the top 5 players on the planet, but Manchester City is a really smart organization, and despite their copious amounts of money, they do not want to be a team of all superstars, at least not while Pep is there. They have a much stronger team concept than a lot of these other clubs. And it's why, despite the money, they don't really have strong links to Mbappe and Neymar. There was a little messy talk because of the connection with Guardiola, but I never really felt like that was going to have any legs. They were out from day one on Cristiano Ronaldo, even back when he was coming to Manchester United. They don't want that culture in their dressing room. That's not what Pep wants. That's not his team concept. That's not what they want as a culture. And so, they've already got their one superstar. They don't want to be a team full of superstars. They have Erling Haaland, who's going to be the superstar of that club. All respect to Kevin De Bruyne, who's on the wrong side of 30. This is going to be Erling Haaland as the centerpiece superstar of this club. And they don't want to be PSG, who had a front line full of superstars. I don't think they ever want to ask the question and not have a good answer to the question, who's taking the big penalty, right? You go get Kylian Mbappe, and it's who's taking the big penalty, right? And I don't know the answer to that, right? Right now, it's very clear. Erling Haaland. In fact, he gave up a penalty opportunity to Ilkay Gundogan at one point when he was on a hat trick and got reamed out for it. Pep made it very clear: you are here to take these penalty shots. You big oaf, go take it. So I don't think they want a situation where they have that in the locker room. Whose locker room is it, right? That is Erling Haaland's club, at least in the front line. That is his front line. He is the goal taker, and there is no question about the dynamic there. And I don't think they want that. So, would they take Kylian Mbappe? Sure, but I don't think that's where they want to put their resources. I don't think that's what they want to do to their locker room. They just spent $100 million on Jack Grealish. Are they going to replace him now? It's just, I don't see that happening. So those links are just because they have money. Who else has the money? Newcastle, I suppose, as another state-owned club. Those are the three state-owned clubs, PSG, Newcastle, and Manchester City. So they're the ones that have the quote-unquote endless money, which is a misnomer. But that's a different video. So that could happen. That very well could happen. He will see that as a step down. But hey, they're playing Champions League football this year, and so that's a possibility. But I've not heard any connections there, so I'm making this up. I suppose a Manchester United could come up with the money, but it doesn't seem likely. So there really aren't a lot of options if Real Madrid says, hey, we're not waiting around for this. So they've got some leverage too if they choose to take it. But if they are desperate to have Kylian Mbappe on their club, which is sort of a hand that they have exposed over the past couple years, then they lose that leverage. So they need to basically just say, hey, we're okay not getting the pretty girl at the party this year. We're going to be just fine without him. Don't use us as leverage. Hey, Harry Kane, what's it going to take? And then maybe you'll see Kylian Mbappe's true intentions, right? You'll see his true intentions, because I'm not positive he actually wants to leave PSG, right? He is a French hero and just led them to a World Cup final. He can win the league in his sleep, gets to play in the Champions League every year. You'd think at some point he would want more of a challenge day in, day out. And maybe a Super League will be the end result of that, and he gets to stay at PSG and get that, but that's far down the road. You'd think at some point he'd want a better challenge, right, to go play against the best competition. Of course, he's not getting that in La Liga either. He'd have to go to the Premier League for that. So, a move to Real Madrid has never quite made sense to me, and it feels like he just continues to use Real Madrid as leverage. And so I don't know how viable Mbappe is, to get back to our topic here as I ramble. I don't quite buy him as a viable option for Real Madrid, which brings us back to Harry Kane as the probably the best option for them. There have also been a lot of links to Kai Havertz, which is really interesting because I like Kai Havertz as a player, and I think he's done a nice job at Chelsea, which is something that people will mock, but he's done a nice job. He just was asked to do a job that he's not meant to do. And what I mean by that is he's not a true striker, right? So he's been playing out of position as a striker, or as the main scorer at the very least for Chelsea for over a year now, and it's just not what he does best. He's not a pure finisher. He's not a true number 9. He's more of a number 10. which is why these links to Real Madrid are strange because they don't really play with a number 10. They play a typical 4-3-3 with a main striker and wingers, and he's not really a winger, and he's not really a striker. He's more of a very advanced number 10 or second striker if you want to play with two. And so I don't quite get that link either unless unless the style of play is going to change at Real Madrid. If there's a coaching change or, it's if there's some sort of tactical change then that could be, but that seems like a massive overhaul that I have not heard is taking place. So, interesting, but I hope for Real Madrid's sake they are not using Havertz as, let's call it, a plan C at the striker position, because I think we have seen at Chelsea how that works out. Now, he'd be better off there because he'd be surrounded by more talent and a more stable coaching environment and all those sorts of things, but he's not a true striker. So if Real Madrid thinks they're going to get back to Champions League glory, replacing Karim Benzema with Kai Havertz, we got a major step down on our hands. So they need to keep looking, and that's where maybe you see him linked to Dusan Vlahovic, possibly, or Callum Wilson if Newcastle makes an upgrade, or there are a number of other options out there, but the links have not been there yet. So, really a ton of moving parts for Real Madrid. It's what they really need to do is get in the driver's seat, right? And you saw the little drive-by interview yesterday where the president says, we're going to have Kylian Mbappe, but not this year. They probably should stop doing things like that, and just putting random comments out there. I don't think that helps their case at all, particularly when they still show this infatuation with Kylian Mbappe. Their best bet is to act like this is no news. And Kylian Mbappe, okay, he's nice. Yeah, we'll see what happens there, but we're not really interested, because otherwise they're just going to get used as leverage again, unless they gauge the situation. They got to get some inside information, and if they truly think that Mbappe is going to play out his contract and move on, then yes, now is the time to strike. And how mad are they that they just spent $100 million on Jude Bellingham? And I do wonder if that is going to cost them Kylian Mbappe. They probably did not think that this was a possibility this year, but stranger things have happened. So, the last thing I'll say about this with Mbappe is, this whole I'm dedicated to PSG this season. It's so disingenuous. When you come out and you say, I'm going to reject this extension, you know what's going to happen. You know what this does. You know what the media is how they're going to react. I'm not shocked that it turned into he's leaving this summer now type media frenzy. You are the biggest player on the planet, and you know that. But it's disingenuous to sit there and go, I'm committed to PSG. Well, no, you're not. You're clearly saying that you're not. Unless you couple that with, I turned down this extension, but we are actively working on a new one because I'm committed to PSG. That would then squash these rumors, right? That would end the rumors of him leaving this summer. Then Real Madrid can move on and do what they're going to want to do, and but it's all about leverage. It's all about leverage, right? So he wants this big extension from PSG, and he needed to zap that extension in order to get it. And now he's going to dangle Real Madrid out there as the pretty girl across the room, saying, "Well, I'll go dance with them if you guys don't want to lock me up." And so now the ball's in PSG's court. But I think Real Madrid would be, they hopefully they are doing some serious research and digging right now to find out if he's actually done at PSG for some reason. Maybe it's the management. Maybe he didn't like what the fans did to Messi and Neymar, and he says, "You know what? Screw these guys. I'm out of here." And maybe that's what's really going on behind the scenes. If in which case, Real Madrid, full court press, find the money, go sell some guys, do what you got to do, go get your guy. But short of that, they need to assess the situation and then just move on, because otherwise they're going to be used as leverage again. They're going to miss out on Harry Kane, and There's two worst case scenarios here. One is they say they're not interested in Mbappe. He goes somewhere else and they miss out on him for the next half a decade. The other is they miss out on Mbappe because he stays at PSG, and while they were infatuated with him, they miss out on Harry Kane, who goes somewhere else, Manchester United or somewhere. And then they're sitting there with Kai Havertz or somebody else that they have on the roster right now, or somebody else that they go get and they get their fifth option, right? So those are the two worst case scenarios for Real Madrid, and that's what they're trying to avoid. So right now it is evaluation time for Real Madrid. How legit are these Mbappe rumors? How unhappy is he at PSG? What are the actual chances of him leaving? And if so, full court press, go get him. And if not, move on. Move on and stop being used as leverage. Because frankly, Real Madrid, you're too good of an organization for that. You just are. Your history is too strong. Your team is too good, and you're still making Champions League semifinals, without Kylian Mbappe, and you don't need that. So, do yourself a favor, figure out the situation, and then shit or get off the pot. Right, move on, and go find one of these other options, because Harry Kane's out there, and he's a damn good option for Real Madrid, and it's just such a perfect fit, assuming they don't get caught up again, waiting for the bell of the ball to come calling for them, and that's the risk that they are taking if they wait around. So, a lot of moving parts for Real Madrid. Really interesting situation. The transfer window is just opening. It should be a fun summer, but I do want to make sure we are looking at these rumors through some real glasses here and understanding what they really mean. Because it's so easy to get caught up in he's leaving PSG. We don't know that. We don't know that. We do not know that yet. That is not what that news means. And don't believe all the hype and everybody trying to get clicks out of it, because it's just simply not accurate. We're gonna try and do more live streams like this. I hope they're enjoyable. I ramble, but hey, that's what we're here for. I'd love to get some discussion going, so definitely if you're watching this after the fact, pop something in the chat or the comments. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at TotalFIFACM. We'll do some discussing of this topic there, and of course, if you don't already, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for those that joined us. We did have a few viewers, which is great to see. Hopefully, we'll continue to get more as we do this. And thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry at Total FIFA.